Hi everyone, welcome back to the 26 Days to Greatness Challenge. So right now we are at the end. You guys finished all 26 days and I have created so many bonus extra value by bringing on board tons of amazing speakers to continue to support you on this journey. And today I am super fired up and super excited to have Julie Saillant on here. And Julie is a transformational intuitive coach, and she's an animal whisperer who can teach us how to connect with our hearts and to the hearts of our animals. And she can also show us how to get clear on our gifts by combining the wisdom of animals who have healing source energy as well as intuition, so that we can be really in perfect alignment with our purpose. So with that being said, I am just so excited. Julie, thank you so much for being on here today to talk about such a fun topic, and just blessing us with your unique gifts and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Nico. This is so fun. I'm so looking forward to this. I can't wait to share so much fun with you. We're going to have a great time.
Yes. Like I've never interviewed someone who is an animal whisperer before, and that's why I'm just feeling so pumped up. I love animals, and I do know with my soul that they have such powerful wisdom that they can really share with us. And having someone like you who can connect with animals, like I'm just ready to learn more. With that being said, why don't you share? Okay, before we get into this, I just want to ask our listeners, make sure to have your notebook and take action, because Julie is going to share with us some powerful stuff. So Julie, why don't you share with us about your story? Like, how did you get started with doing the work that you do? How did you find out you were an animal whisperer? Tell us all the good stuff.
So I was born an intuitive empath. So for anybody out there who's a super sensitive person and I can pick up on other people's vibrations. So I can feel what you're feeling. I can feel your pain. I can feel your joy. And I basically can walk into a room and feel everybody's energy, but really deeply. So from when I was little, I was able to do this. And when I was 5 years old, my mother put me up on a horse. And I instantly connected because I actually felt the love of the horse, and I felt how they're just so accepting. And I just fell in love with it. And that's when I started my journey actually communicating with them. But it wasn't until I was about 15 and I had my horse in a stall, and there was a man there, and he had a horse, and he was very cruel to her. And he had taken her through barbed wire fence, and she was bleeding around her legs, and it was a really rainy night, and he just left her there. And I heard, "Please help me." And there was nobody else there but me. And it was a clear voice. And I turned around and it was her. And that's when I really first heard the actual words. And then I could go over and actually help an animal. So I'm really great at helping people find their gifts, because a lot of times what I did for so much of my life was I buried my gifts because I was different. And people didn't understand me. They didn't know why I would have to leave, a movie theater, and I was sick because I'd watched something that was really violent. And everybody else was like, gee, I don't understand. I'm okay with this. And I was like, I'm not okay with this, because we feel everything at a different level. So that's when I started using my intuitive gifts, and animals have been helping me all along since then.
Oh my gosh, that is so special. I wish I had that gift, because like I said, I love animals. Like this morning, I was just watching the hummingbirds outside, the blue jays. Like I wish I could talk to them.
Oh, well, you can start asking them for messages. Just start asking them, because birds are really communicative. So every animal has a consciousness, and every animal has lessons for us. All we have to do is look at them and say, "Do you have a message for me?" or "How can I help you?" And you'd be surprised how much they would like to say hi to you.
Oh, I'm gonna give it a try.
Try it.
To do that. Oh, that's amazing. So Julie, that is such a really, I love how you combine like there's something that's so abstract and intangible, like this gift of yours, into utilizing that gift and supporting others on how we can get clear on our gifts. Because I feel like growing up, we've just been kind of taught that we need to do what others want us to do, like live by others' expectations, that we somehow just forgotten. We lost connection with what our own gifts are. So why don't we have you get started now and tell us, like, move into the action implementation piece and really like supporting us on how we can get clear on our gifts by utilizing, you know, your intuition and leaning on other wisdom from other animals.
Okay, cool. So I have 3 action steps for you. And before I start, I want to give you a really quick scenario, Miko. So let's just say we're in an interview and I'm going to hire you for a job. And it's a really fancy place. The building's beautiful. The money's great. The job's great. And everything's going great. And in the middle of the interview, you have a little voice in your head saying, this is probably not a good fit for you. And you ignore it and you keep going and saying, no, but the money's good and the job's good and the money's good. And that little voice is saying, yeah, I'm not going to be happy here. That's the little voice that we have inside of us. That's your intuition and your soul saying from your higher self, this is not a good fit for you. And I tried my entire life to fit into roles that other people wanted me to be because of family expectations. And I'm a people pleaser and I love to help people like you. And it just doesn't work out for you. So you've got to listen to that small voice that says, this is not a good fit for you. Or you know what? This is where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be over here, not this place. So I have 3 steps for your listeners and they're all actionable. So nice and easy. So
Julie, I want to ask you a question
yes.
before we get into that, because I
Yes.
feel like intuition is a topic that is kind of like mysterious to a lot of people. We don't really know how to listen to that voice, or sometimes we don't even have space for that voice to come in. And how do we know, like, this is something that I struggle with too? Like sometimes I hear it, I hear that intuition, but sometimes I feel like, is it me? Like, is it my ego self trying to think, like, was that coming from my ego? Was that coming from my higher self? Like, how can we distinguish and know that that voice was something that is guiding us from the divine? How can we distinguish?
The distinguishing thoughts are, if it's for you, it's going to come from your heart. If it's from your ego, it's going to make sense. If it's from your heart, it probably won't make as much sense to you.
Okay.
And that's the counterintuitive part of it. So it will say, in the face of everything around you, the circumstances are perfect. And your ego will go, but the money's amazing. This is going to be great. And then the ego will say, the soul will say, this is not a good match for you. And then maybe you shouldn't be in a cube. Maybe you belong in nature. Maybe you don't want to be in a cube at all. So it will always sound small, quiet, not forceful, unless you keep on ignoring it. And it will always be your higher self, and it will probably be counterintuitive. And that's why people push it aside, because they think, well, maybe that wasn't real. Maybe I really didn't, maybe, oh, I don't think so. And they keep going. The ego self is all about protecting you. It doesn't want you to change. It wants you to stay right where you are, because that's where it's safe.
So my question is, like, how can we get better at trusting that intuition, knowing how scary, like, the things that it wants us to do is so much in the unknown? Like, how can we get better at trusting that intuition?
So you have to go deep and do the inner work, and you have to face yourself. And that means that you have to really meditate on and ask your higher self, what are my gifts? I mean, what am I supposed to be doing? And what would make my soul happy? And no matter how crazy it sounds, that's your truth. And ask yourself, is this my truth inside? Because you'll know. It will tell you, yes or no. It will tell you. But you have to really get quiet. And it's not something I help my clients do this. But for those of you that are listening or watching, you need to take the time and do this work and ask yourself these questions. And it can't come from a phone. It's not taught in the school. It's all inside of you. And it's all what makes you happy.
Yes, this is so funny because I sent out an email to my audience today talking about, this morning I spent 2.5 hours just sitting in silence and doing absolutely nothing. And I encourage my audience to do the same thing. And this is something that you will hear people talk about a lot, but it's only until you do it yourself, you get that firsthand experience. Like, you just never won't understand what we are talking about until you actually do it. So for anyone yeah, for anyone who's like thinking about it, just give it a try. Like there is nothing to hurt. You know, just sit in silence and a lot of fun things will start to show up. But anyways, that's off topic. Julie. So with that questions kind of out of the way, like just kind of giving our audience a little bit of that support foundation. So can you now go into the 3 steps that you can really help us take it into action and implement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to add in one quick thing, Miko. So when you're meditating, you don't have to sit in silence. I'm not that person because my mind is so busy. It's always going. So I put on my headphones and I listen to some really great, like astral music, I call it, you know, kind of whatever you like that's calm and relaxing, ocean waves. So whatever makes you just relax. Whatever, because some people can't sit in silence. So whatever works for you. So just take and just go in. But let me give you the 3, but that's a good tip. You've got a good one there. So my first tip is face yourself to uncover your gifts. So unearth your gifts by making a list of what you're good at. And when I say this, okay, so for us women, so many of us have been taught to put everyone else first but ourselves, right? And we always think that everyone else does this great and does that great. But if somebody said, oh, Miko, my gosh, you know, you're really good at speaking. And you, oh, okay, you know, well, yeah, I'm okay. But no, you're really good at speaking. You're a really good communicator. We have to start owning what we're good at. And so the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, what am I good at? What do I love to do? And what do people tell me that I'm really good at that is not hard for me? For example, I love to write. I write all the time, pages and pages of stuff. My sister can't write at all. She's like, you're so good at that. And I'm like, well, for me, it's just really easy. But for her, it's not. So ask yourself these questions and journal these down. You know, what are your gifts? What am I good at? What do I love to do? And what do people tell me I'm good at? And then you got to honor that and take a hold of that and say, you know what? I am good at ABC. I can do this. I'm good at it. Stand in it.
You make a really good point. I feel like not, well, more so for women, but also like just pretty much everyone in general. Like we've just been so taught and conditioned to not like praise ourselves and to value ourselves. So when others like praise us, we kind of just tend to like shove it down. I do that a lot. But when you ask yourself questions like, what are other people tell me I'm really good at, like that really supported me into getting clarity on what I'm good at. Like just by taking note in little pieces, like consistently what others tell me, like they say they love my energy, they love my happiness, all of that stuff. I was like, okay, well, how can I turn that into, like, how can I use those compliments and turn that into like a gift? So yeah, how can we like do that, right? So people would compliment you, but it might not necessarily be like very straightforward telling you like you have this gift. So what do we do? Like, do we just journal that and write it down?
I would journal that, but I was going to say I would meditate on that. The next step would be to meditate on that and ask your higher self, you know, is this true? Because remember, a lot of your gifts are still unearthed. Remember that. So as you go through your life, all your gifts don't show up at once, right? It's not a harvest all at once. It's a harvest all through your life. So things are going to show up differently for you. So let's just say that you're a great communicator and you say, I finally acknowledge that I'm a good communicator, but what in that, what's the modules within that? Am I a good writer? Am I a good speaker? So try to break it down to its essence, to whatever that original spark would be. Now you might have all of them. You might have writing abilities, you might have speaking abilities, you might have all of that, or it could just be one. But I would journal and then I would go meditate and ask my higher self, you know, what is it that my soul is here to do? I don't think people ask themselves that enough. They always ask, what are my gifts? And they want to turn it into something, and that's a good thing. But what about your soul? Like, what is your soul work? What am I supposed to be doing on this planet Earth? And how can my gifts help another? Because if you ask to serve others, your gifts usually come up very quickly.
That's a really, yes, and that's a really big turning point for me, Julie. Like when I shifted from what I was trying to like, pull out and try to like influence people with, but I shifted into kind of like stepping back and being in the humble, like servant mode, asking like the higher power, like, what do you want me to do? Right. Instead of
Yes.
making a
Yes.
decision in my like ego self, I just let something divine to tell me, to direct me. And I think like that kind of takes off a lot of pressure off of our
Yes.
shoulders, first of all, and then it's exciting to let those ideas to flood in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's all about that creative, amazing energy of all the pieces that make up you. And there's
Mhm.
a million different things that make up Miko, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many things that you could do, but I do believe it's about asking those questions about how we can serve others. And you need two things. You need to come with an open heart. You need to be humble and have an open heart. Those are the two, before you ask any questions of the divine, of spirit, of your higher self, come with an open heart. Because even in meditation, you know this, you can't come in and be like, oh, I got this. You have to be open to allowing all the answers to come to you. You need to be able to receive the answers, which is, think of it as a gift. If I said to you, Miko, you're a great communicator, and you said, oh, thanks, not really, that would be rejecting my gift.
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
wouldn't want to hurt my feelings, right? So
Mhm.
why not just say, well, thank you, that's amazing. It's the same thing asking your higher self. Come with
Yeah.
an open, humble heart and ready to accept whatever those gifts are. And I accept them and I honor them, because so many people, they know their gifts, but they're pushing them to the side because
Mhm.
they don't have time, they don't have the money, or they don't feel that it'll work for them. Like, how do I make this work in my life? Well, those are the questions. Where do I feel blocked? Where am I afraid to use my gifts? That's a huge
Mhm.
one, because I was afraid, because I'd always been taught that being different was a bad thing. And
Mhm.
actually being different is a good thing.
Yep.
That's what I do now, is I help people find their gifts. So it's, how can I stop being afraid of my gifts and use them to serve others? And how do I begin to use my gifts to help all?
Mm. And do we ask these questions in meditation?
Yep. Ask them in
Okay.
meditation. Yep. But I
Okay.
actually get a lot of great ideas and channelings when I'm working out. So,
Oh,
you can be in nature. I mean,
yeah.
whatever works for you. Like I said, you don't have to be in that pose, like whatever works for you. And, if you're out in nature and you're a runner, say you're working out, whatever, you can always ask your higher self, check in with your higher self. I think once you get in the habit of that, then things start flowing. More energy and information flows to you. It's just like a muscle. You just have to use it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like the power of questions, kind of people tend to underestimate that. But by basically just putting out that question, it's like, if think of putting into the Google search, like we need to put in something so that
Yes.
Google can pop back up the answer. So we need to ask the questions. Um, and I think we just don't do that often enough. And the universe is always ready to give us the answer, but we need to take that initiative and to ask. So I love that. Okay, so that was step number one, right? Unearth your gifts by making a list of what you are good at. And
Mm-hmm.
we want to do that by asking questions and
Mm-hmm.
tuning in, meditating, and asking for like confirmations, would you say, from the higher
I
self?
would. That's like step two, would be to ask for
Okay.
confirmation. Step
Okay.
two. So step two is asking for confirmation, and that can come in the form of anything. So if
Mhm.
I'm always paying attention to animals and birds, as we were talking, and I love
Yeah.
seeing, any kind of being running around, like can be hummingbird, as you were saying, or, we've got some ducks back here. Whatever keeps showing up for you, start to ask them, do you have a message for me? Or I can ask a question. Is this kind of what you thought, or when you said I was good at XYZ? Because if
Yeah.
you put it out into the universe as a clear cut question, the answer
Mhm.
will come back. Just remember that every being that you come across is for a reason. It's not
Mhm.
random. There's always
Every
a message.
being, every being that come across
Every,
you has
every
the
being you come across has a message
okay,
or a lesson,
including animals.
including animals, big time animals. So your dog or your cat that you have,
Yeah.
remember, they're seeing you all the time. They see you when you're doing great, and they see you when you're struggling, and they always want to help. Start letting them give you that good energy of relaxation to get into that place of meditation, asking those questions, and start asking for ask the universe for confirmation. Ask your higher self, well, what you could put put in front of me that I could maybe get a confirmation of a yes or a no. In other words,
Yeah.
I like my totem is a hawk. I always see hawks. So if I have a question and it's floating around out there, should I or shouldn't I? If I see a hawk, that means you're on the right path.
So can we just pick any animal?
You can pick any animal that you feel that you see a lot or that you feel a connection with.
Okay, so like if I want a yes confirmation, I would ask for it to show up in front of me, and then, oh, that is so fun.
And you would be surprised, at how much that works.
Gosh.
Because you're putting it out in the universe and it comes back to you.
Do you also have like an animal for no?
An animal for no? I don't get animals for no's. I get animals for yeses.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay, that's good to know.
But trust me, if you ask a question and your higher self feels a no, you'll get a no. You'll get it in your heart. You'll get a no. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the right way.
Yeah. And I think that's something also comes to practice too. The more we are tuned into that feeling, the better, like the stronger that signal will become. Cool. So, so would you say, like, not just animals, but do you also like feel that same connection with plants, like flowers and trees?
I do. Yeah, I do. So every tree, people may not know this, but every tree, the roots actually connect to each other, and there's a big system under where we're stepping. So the more that you're grounded, the more energy you're going to get from them. And I know this is going to sound funny to a lot of people, but I ask the trees for knowledge and help all the time, just by putting my hands on their bark. Think about how old trees are. They've seen way more than we have. We're just little humans, you know? So if you can just ask the questions, it grounds you and it helps you. You're connected to the earth, Mother Earth, and that's where all the good energy is, right? So that's being out in nature is the best thing you can do for yourself, and
That's
asking
so
those
funny.
questions.
Julie, that reminds me. One time I went hiking and I saw this beautiful tree just on the side of the trail, and then I felt called to go over there, climb up the hill, and then touch it.
Yes.
I was touching it until I started to see a bunch of like gigantic ants. I got scared.
Oh.
So I had to step away. But I found that connection, like just touching it, it was like magical. Like you feel that essence, and I can't really explain what that is, but you can feel there's something there. Like it's not just a tree, but there's like powerful energy to that. So
I have energy and a consciousness. My very good friend climbs rocks. Big rocks, like in Arizona and Colorado. She just goes everywhere. But, wherever you feel called in nature, whether it's, planting stuff in your garden or but trees, whatever speaks to you, if something's calling you to go to it, do it. Because there's a connection there that needs to be made. And that's only going to help your soul and your heart expand more.
Yeah.
Because we're all connected.
Yes. And
right?
I think this gets more exciting when we can start to find ways to connect. And there's like nature everywhere around us. And our planet just becomes 10 times more fun when we can be so in tune with that energy surrounding us. But let's get back to step number 2.
3.
So to recap, step number 2, we want to ask for confirmations, and that could show up in any way that it's right for you. It could be from an animal, from like Mother Nature, but you will know that, and that happens. It gets stronger over time, that connection.
Yes, and it will make sense to you. It might not make. You don't even have to tell anybody else, but it'll make sense to you.
Okay, it makes sense to you. Okay, so it sounds like it's a really like private, intimate connection that you have with the non-physical.
Yes, because you're asking questions that are pretty big for your world, what are my gifts? How am I meant to serve? So nobody around you is going to have the answers. So, but the earth will, and we're all connected, especially now, as you know, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, we are connected. And the earth is helping us, and this is all happening for you. This is your opportunity to go out and, you know, do some of this fun stuff, whatever you feel called to do. If it's seeing animals, if it's touching a tree, it's an experience, right, Miko?
Yes. It's
So
absolutely.
beautiful.
All right, so moving on to step number 3. What is the next
Step
step?
number 3 is the biggest one of all, and it's take an action step. So let's just say, let's take this all the way through. Let's just say you've meditated or you've gone out in nature and you've asked the question, you know, what's my gift, or what's my soul here to do? And you have a couple of ideas and you've gotten confirmation and you think you know what it is. Now we need to take an action step in that direction. That could be, it can be super small. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be eloquent, but you need to take, this is called aligned action steps. It's not just any step, right? It's an aligned action step. So let's just say that if it was writing, you might want to go out and write a small short story, or you might want to ask others if you could contribute to their website, or you just might want to put something out there, maybe a short poem. It doesn't have to be big or elaborate, but you need to start getting used to taking steps towards your goals, because otherwise it's just going to sit in your head and it's not going to help you or the earth, right? I mean, you're here to do your soul's work. So you've got to take aligned action, and this is all in alignment with your gifts.
That is so powerful. And I think, like, for me personally, I hear this a lot. They say that the best action is in alignment. It's like inspire action. So for someone, like, you know, for growing up pretty much my whole life, it's always been like in the action mode, always like driven, highly ambitious, like do constantly in the doing. And I think like that leads to burnout, especially when it's not aligned action, when it's not inspired action. So like, how, for someone like me, like what would you say, how can we really keep that balance of like waiting for that inspired idea, waiting for the intuition, and then like being okay with not doing anything until that idea comes?
So 2 things. If you're always going to get, like you're going to get money, you're going to get something, that's your ego. If you're going to give, that's your soul.
Oh,
So
that's
there's a
good.
big difference there. So if you're going to get money and I'm going to get this and I'm going to get some more clients, that's versus I'm going to serve. I'd like to serve some clients.
Yeah.
Whereas I'll put my hands on my calendar and I'll say, you know, I'm ready to serve, you know, show me who I can serve today. And then that's a totally different vibe in your body.
Yeah.
So it's all about taking that aligned, inspired action. The difference is that it's about you being at your best and doing what will help others and yourself the most, because your cup is going to be full as you help others. There's no way it can't be. It's the reciprocal. So if I give, you give, then we're both filled. We can both help more other people, right?
Yeah.
So aligned action is all about what feels good for you. So the question I always ask is, how could this be easy and fun? Because going to get something is usually hard and it feels icky and sticky, salesy, yuck. Going to give and to serve and use me as my best is to, I can make the world a better place. Whatever that looks like, that's a totally different feeling in your body. So I always ask, what could I do that would be fun using my gifts? What could I do creatively that would be awesome? And I could help some animals at the same time. Like, what would that look like? Like, ask yourself these questions and don't feel like you have any boundaries. Go big. Ask yourself, oh my gosh, if Miko wants to, like, you know, she wants to be on the top 10 list of the best speakers in the world. Well, what would it look like? How could she get there and make it fun for her using her gifts? Ask those questions.
Yeah, I definitely 100% know what you're talking about, because like for my first 2, up until very recently, a couple months ago, like my entire energy in my entrepreneurship journey was always about the get. Like, how can I get people to engage? How can I get more people to connect with me? It was always about getting and taking energy. But until I shifted away from that and really like filling up my cup first from within by connecting with a higher power, so that all my needs are met, and then I can show up and give to other people, and everything becomes a lot more fun. And just like you mentioned, that heaviness went away and I have so much more energy. I don't procrastinate anymore. I don't sleep in anymore. And I would work for like 12 hours and it would be fun. It's a totally different
Totally
energy.
different. Totally
Yeah.
different. And you know
Yeah.
how you can tell the difference? Let's just look at like an Instagram. You can see somebody's Instagram account. It's like they put up all these pictures, but you don't
Yeah.
feel that connection, kind of like somebody else is doing it, or they just don't have, and they don't appeal to you. And somebody else will put stuff up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, because that's them. Like that's their essence, and that's their inspired energy that they're putting out into the world to help other people get inspired or motivated or whatever it is they're trying to do. So there's
Oh.
a, you can see it on the surface. It's just, we're just identifying it underneath the covers. And there's a big difference between aligned action, which is like taking those pictures that connect, and then just action, which is, I'm just going to throw something up there and hope somebody reads it. And I hope I get a client out of it. Like that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
good. People can feel that.
Yes, they
You can
can.
always feel it when you're faking it, or if you're not being your authentic self. So it's just come from a place of serving. And I always ask, how can I help? How can I serve and use my gifts? And everybody wins. It's amazing how that works.
Oh, this is so fun. Okay, so basically we want to, I mean, first of all, obviously we need to get clear. And by following these 3 steps, we can get clarity on our gifts. And then once we do that, what other like recommendations would you say? Like, for example, we have someone listening right now, right at this moment, and they feel like they are that person where they're putting in the work, you know, they're doing everything that they should be doing to build a business, but it's not in alignment, and they feel burned out and they're frustrated, but they have this calling in their heart. Like they want to create this beautiful business in alignment with who they are. So they did these 3 steps. And then what's next for them?
Drop the shoulds.
Yeah.
Drop the I should. So the thing is, what works for one does not work for others. And we're always taught in school that that's not true, right? What works for you should work for me. But that's
Yeah.
really not the truth, because we're all so different. We all have different businesses and we're different people. So what works for, if Miko puts out, you know, 5 Instagrams a day and I put out 1 a day, then I feel bad about it. And I should do this and I should have done that. That does not work. And it puts you in a very disempowering state. Now you're doing things out of alignment, disempowering to you and everyone you're helping. It doesn't work that way. You have to ask yourself, what works for me? What would my business look like if I was had the success that I wanted, right? What would that look like for me? Would I be speaking? Would I be writing? Would I be co-creating? Would I be on summits? What would I like to do? How could I show up? What would be best for me? What would be my highest and best good for all? That's what I always ask, right? What's the highest and best good for all? And listen to those feelings. And it could be something really funny or silly, like a challenge, like, you know, that nobody's ever done before. That's the best stuff. That's where the magic happens. So you can't do what, like, I love Gary V. You know who he is, right? Gary V. I
Yeah.
love Gary V. And I know how he always says you got to post 50 times a day, but that's not me. And that's not realistic. And I would burn myself out. So you have to do what works for you. So it's, again, about getting quiet and asking yourself, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing is, Miko, you don't want to create a business and then get trapped in the, I got to post 5 times a day. I got to do this. I got to do that. And you don't even want to do it anymore. And that happens. Happened to me. I was doing so many podcasts for that all last year, and it was great. But then I got tired of it. I got burnt out. And then I thought, am I really getting anything out of this? I don't think so. So switch gears, try something new, do something fun. Use what you think would be amazing for you, even if it's never been done before, or even if somebody else says, no, that's not a good idea. If you feel that it's a good match for you, do it.
Yeah, I'm like the type of person who never really resonate with a lot of like business strategists, like business coaches who have a really set specific strategy or formula. Like I never resonate with that. I'm more in alignment with people like you who help supports me into tapping into my own heart, my own gifts, and my do it Miko Lau my own way. Like
Yes.
that's what supports me. But here's my question to you, Julie. Like I know there needs to have some sort of balance in terms of like, for example, like when I started out building a business, I have no business training in the background. Like I know I need a system. I know I need like all these things. So how we find a balance between like seeking mentorship and support from like business coaches who can give us that system versus like getting to know who we are and bringing the essence of us into the formula?
Find a coach that's going to coach you on your gifts, but also give you some business knowledge, because you're going to have to post to Instagram at some point. You're going to have to be on LinkedIn at some point, right? But it's all about the balance.
Yeah.
So maybe you carve out your day and you get somebody to help you and say, okay, I'm going to work on my gifts here, but I know that I do have to at least put up a post or have a blog post or have a newsletter. People have to see you. You have to let them in, right? To the real you. And you have to show them who you are and what you can do so they can connect with your energy, right? So get a coach who can help you work on both things. I don't really believe in all the systems and strategies. It didn't resonate with me either. I would say try to strike a balance. Do a little bit during the day of a little bit of posting, do a newsletter once a week, but keep it simple. Keep the simpler, the better. Simpler, the better. I mean, you're going to get overloaded with revenue streams and funnels, and just keep it simple. Have a couple core products and work on those and let the rest go. And then see how that goes and test it and keep it simple. And if it doesn't work, bring in something new, tweak it.
Yeah. So just do what like feels right for you at pretty much every given moment.
At any given moment.
Yeah.
And feel free to toss stuff out, because you know what? A lot of people feel that if they put their work into something and they let it go, it's a failure. I felt like that. Like I'm a failure. I put so much energy into something. It's just time to change. That's all. You're growing. That's a good thing. You're just changing it up because you're growing.
Yeah.
You're changing and you're
And
evolving.
like you mentioned at the beginning, step number one, a lot of the gifts are still hidden underneath, and that's how we have to evolve, we have to expand, and things have to change. So that makes total sense. So let's recap the 3 steps on how to get clarity on our gifts. And number one is we want to unearth our gifts by making a list of what we are good at, asking good questions, meditating, connecting with the higher power. And then we want to step number 2, we want to ask for confirmations, and that could show up in any way that feels right for you, that makes sense to you. And then number 3, we have to take aligned action to move that momentum, to get things going, but it needs to be aligned. And how we can know that is by like feeling the energy. Is it coming from a place of getting, or is it coming from a place of serving? And yeah, that's basically like we want to do that. And once we do all these 3 steps, we want to drop the shoulds and let go of what others think works for me, and really just trusting in my own guidance on what works best for me.
Yes, exactly. What does success look like for you? It can be totally different than what I think. It's not cookie cutter. That's the beauty of it.
Okay, so now I really want to ask you this question, Julie, since I know you're an animal whisperer too. So like I believe I hear these talks out there that say like we have spirit, like animal spirits, like spirit guides. Is that true? Do I have one?
Everybody has an animal spirit. So an animal totem is a spirit that you feel very connected with. You see usually pretty often. And it's something that you always feel drawn to. So in other words, if I showed you a picture of like a bear, a wolf, or a hummingbird, you might go towards the hummingbird, right? You might go towards, there's always one that you're like, that one feels like I resonate with that. Like I get that. Like it feels like a match to you. So everybody has a totem animal. And there are various ways of finding it, but a lot of it's your energy, because everybody has different energies. So, you know, you have kind of more of a bird energy, which means you're very quick. You pick things up very fast. You get bored very quickly, very quickly. So you need a
Mhm.
lot of different things, but then you don't want too much, because if you do too much, then you get frustrated and overloaded, right?
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
the hummingbird, but the hummingbird only does one thing. They just do it really well. So you can do something really fast, but
Yeah.
one thing at a time with you.
Okay. Yes, that's something I need to work on because I tend to have so many projects
I
going on at
know.
the same time. That is me. But so okay, so basically what I would best serve me is to just find one thing
One
to
thing.
get super. So can it be like, can I have subtopics? Like if I want
Yes.
to, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Because what I'm thinking right now, I'm focusing on 3 areas in terms of cultivating in my skill set. I want to focus on femininity, unconditional love, and spirituality. But I feel like they're all kind of connected.
They
And
are.
that's
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And what I do is in my sessions with my clients, I bring in the opposite for balance, the opposite spirit animal. So for you, I would bring in the wolf. Why the wolf? Totally different than a hummingbird. But the wolf is also a predator. The hummingbird is not. So that's balance. But the
Yeah.
wolf also has a pack. The hummingbird does not. So that's support. So what I would be bringing you is groundedness. They're always on the ground. Hummingbirds are not. Support of a pack, which hummingbirds don't have. So then you're more balanced instead of always going, like from here to there and burning yourself out. Whereas the wolf is going to give you that more groundedness, that earth and that protection, and more of that maternal instinct and love and support. So I bring in the opposite because I want to balance you. That's the most important part, because that's the only way you can get balanced, because otherwise, you're always going to be doing too much, and
Yeah.
then it's too much for you. So
That's amazing. I totally understand what you just brought up. So how can we channel that animal totem, that animal energy? How can we channel that?
so channel that by, when you're meditating, think about that animal, whatever that
Mhm,
animal is, and
mhm,
think about their attributes, whatever it is. So if it was, I just stay with the wolf. All those attributes that I just told you, the positive
mhm.
attributes, you could probably Google it. That's what I want you to meditate on. And I'd ask you, say to yourself, I need to be more grounded. How can the wolf help me be more grounded? And
Mm,
think about the wolf. I actually take my clients through thinking about the wolf and how they're walking and how
mm.
they're on the earth and how they're slowed down.
Yeah.
So for you, speed is always your speed, speed, speed. That's great. But
Mhm,
sometimes it's better to slow down. So you just
mhm.
take one action instead of 5 actions, because you don't need the other 4. You only need the one
Right.
power action.
Yes.
So just meditate on their attributes and what
Okay.
what what could help you right now. And you'll be surprised at what comes through.
Oh, that's so good. It's so interesting to see how much you were able to. It's like you know me so well. Just by thinking of the hummingbird. That is so true. I tend to multitask a lot, like
I know.
constantly trying to like juggle so many things at once, and I don't get anything done when I am in that energy. So I need focus. I need
You need
something to.
focus, one
Yeah.
thing. You can have
Okay.
subtitles, like a text under that, but one thing.
Mhm,
So that's my
mhm,
superpower. So I see you, I see where you're blocked, I see what you're
mhm.
doing, and I'm just trying
Yeah.
to slow you down enough to give you balance. And then, Miko, you don't have to take 5 steps, just take one powerful step. And that
Okay.
one powerful step resonates with you. It'll
Mhm,
go out into the world with your fingerprint on it, and everybody will feel it. Instead of 5 steps, the
mhm,
4 are hurried and it's like just too quick, and you haven't
mhm,
put your essence into it. Do you know what I mean?
mhm,
You want to
mhm.
put your
Yeah.
essence out there. That's what people respond to. That's what they say, oh my gosh, she's just like me. She can help me, I think. I like her
Mhm.
vibe. I like what she's doing. It's all about the vibe with me. All about the vibe and how to just balance.
Oh, this is so good. So I want to put my essence out there, and that's what draws like people who resonate with me into finding me.
Yes.
And I really do
Yes.
believe in that. Like I believe like that's why I don't resonate with a lot of like the strategies out there. Like I
Me too.
believe that the universe would just connect me with everyone who's ready to work with me, and they will find a way. Like I always believe in that.
Me too.
So yeah. And that's
Yeah.
how it works.
Anything you put out there, you want to put your essence into it. And it doesn't mean you put out your whole soul in, but you want to put your print on it so that people can feel you. They can, have that conversation with you, put
Yeah.
yourself out there. Don't be afraid. I was afraid, especially for us women, getting on video, you're like, oh, yeah,
Do I
scary.
look good?
Do I look all right? I'm not really, But then I thought, it's not about me. It's about
Yeah.
my message, and it's about me sharing with you. It's not me. It's about what I can help you and your listeners with. And if you take the focus off you, the rest is just, it's so easy. It's just as fun. Like, it's just, when you're in your zone and you're using your gifts, it's joyful. It's fun. It's not hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the way
Yeah.
it should be all the time. Fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do it unless it's fun, because otherwise it's not fun. Then you have a business and you have to do all this stuff and it's not fun anymore.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Final note, Julie. I can talk to you all
I
day.
know.
This is so fun. But this is so interesting though, because this is my third time putting a series like this together. And then in the past two series, like I wasn't having this much fun. And then like it conveys that energy. Was like the speakers that I interviewed, they were all super professional, like super serious, and they had great value. But like this time around, I'm just like having such a fun connection with all my speakers, and I think it's
Yay.
because like I shifted too, something in me shifted, and that like start to show up to in the results and the things that I'm creating. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And people can feel that. They can
Yes.
feel your authenticity. It's just like when you're watching TV, you can feel when somebody's not being authentic, but
Yeah.
they can feel when you're really putting yourself out there. They know that.
Oh, this has been such
Yay.
a fun interview, Julie.
Me too.
I want
Thank you
to
so much.
Yes, I want to take this time to really acknowledge you for what you do, all the amazing work that you do, and just like being so generous with your time to be on here today and talk
Thank
to our
you.
listeners and share with us these 3 powerful steps. And I encourage all my listeners to go out there and implement, meditate tonight, do whatever works best for you. And it's all about you experiencing that firsthand. Like just hearing us talk right now doesn't do us any good unless we feel it and embody that.
Yes.
So Julie, do you have any last words for our listeners? Oh, I forgot. How can they find you online?
That's okay. Yeah. It's juliesaillant.com, and I have all of my coaching there, and I do have a free gift for them. I do a podcast called the Be Woke Podcast with my good friend from England, Ildiko, and she is the science behind my intuitiveness. So there's the Breakthrough Be Woke playbook, and you'll have the link for them. They can go and grab that. And this is the antidote to the healthcare crisis right now. So if you're in isolation like we all are, grab this playbook, and it's all about giving you steps to help you really step into your power.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
So
check
I
it
will
out.
make sure, I'll have that free gift link and Julie, all of her website, her social media platforms, all of that in the same exact email that this interview went out to. So just go back, let us know what your biggest takeaways were. Like Julie would love to hear from you. I will let her know, forward anything you send back to me, and make sure to stay connected with Julie. If you have any other questions, want to talk to Julie more, go connect with her. She has a ton more. I know there's a ton in her tools and wisdom.
So much more.
Yes. So any last words, Julie, for our listeners before we close this off?
Yes. I want to say one important thing. Don't do what I did. Don't bury your gifts. Be the divine being of light that you are. Show the world how awesome you are, Miko, like you're doing, and just be yourself, and everybody will love you. Just focus on what you can bring to the world. That's the most important thing.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you so much.
Yay. Everyone else, I'll see you on the next interview for more bonus speakers. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you.